Brad, how are you, bro? Said, hello, just checking in. With Jones now departing for Milan, is Wharton back on the table, or are we not bothering with that? So here's basic. I'm going to read out some stuff that I got sent last night, and I'm going to make sure I don't trip myself up. That's why I'm reading it out, because I don't want to get this wrong. But I'm going to tell you some of the stuff and how it came to us last night. So basically, in correspondence with journalists and others, a couple of things became clear. That Liverpool are absolutely still on for the two PSG deals if they want to do them. That's coming from the French side of it. Then after that, the journalists are talking about the fact that there's another right winger that's been looked at, but nobody has the name. Nobody. 3-4 different journalists in this chat all saying, we know they're looking at somebody, but we don't know who. After that then, there was some conversation around the situation with the likes of Wanyeri. Are Liverpool really interested there? And apparently we are, but Arsenal are now looking at a potential loan and we might be interested as a buyer. I don't know on that one. And they also say that they expect Gakpo, Chiesa and Elliott all to leave before the window shuts. I'm reading through some more of the messages here. 1 second. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with it all. Everybody's expecting it to be frantic, but why so late? I don't know. Why we haven't triggered or moved, I don't know. So I floated the name James Dario Osorio because obviously he was reported last night and nobody really had any substance to whether he's the name or not. And I would struggle to believe that they would pursue Dario Osorio over Mbaye personally, but I don't know. So I'm just being honest and saying they're talking about another wide player, but nobody knows who. With Edwards gone and Hughes leaving, do you foresee a better transfer and contract approach going forward? Again, the answer is probably yes. You would imagine that these new investors are going to come in and eventually clean house. I can't see anything else because, one, we have to bring in a new sporting director. There might be a middle ground where, let's say, David Woodfine or Julian Ward or somebody steps in a medium-term capacity until the investment thing is all sorted out properly. Because as it stands right now, we've a bit of a hodgepodge of an ownership system. So FSG are apparently still responsible for the day-to-day running of the club, but we know that the investment group bought 38% of the club. And we know that they can buy out the rest of the club within 12 months if they want, or at least take a controlling stake in it. So you'd have to think yes. But the concern I would have is, who are they going to be leaning on for advice? And that's the part that would concern me in all of this, because if you look at when FSG came into football, they came into football pretty cold and they didn't know much about it. Now, I know some of the people that they were leaning on for some assistance or for some guidance, and that's how we ended up with the Kamoli kind of situation, and they made a few mistakes along the way. So with Ahmed Bhatia, obviously he has a bit more of a background in football from his time at QPR, but with regard to who the sporting director could be or what direction they go in, I don't know. And that is a nervous thing as a fan, to not really know exactly what direction the club is in. And I was reading a couple of articles today that was quoting like Jay McKenna from Spirit of Shankly and a few others. And look, whilst I don't always agree with everything Spirit of Shankly say and do, I understand the concerns they're putting forward in this one, because the communication to the club supporters from anybody involved in this has been minuscule, to say the least. Even from the point of view of the 30% becoming 38%, all that kind of stuff, I get it. I think fans should have been kept in the loop a bit more on this, whether it is the Spirit of Shankly, Spy on Cops, as I said, season ticket holders or whatever, fan advisory groups. They should have been consulted a bit more, because we're all in the dark now. And we're in the dark at the time where the transfer window is becoming a bit of a shambles for us. Like looking around earlier on, you see United closing in on Carlos Baleba. So, you know, they've done quite a bit of business then this summer. We've talked a lot about the business that City and Spurs and all are doing. And Liverpool are, as we sit here right now, still sitting on our hands and trying to be the smartest guys in the room. That's the situation, and it doesn't get any less frustrating as each day goes by. Because, you know, you keep saying, how can they get all this done? How can they get, let's say, the Jones deal wrapped up, Elliott out the door, a couple of other youngsters maybe out the door, sort out the incoming of Barcola, get the other right winger in, maybe sort out the deal for Cody Gakpo to leave, and then potentially look at the DM? It just feels, if you couldn't do all this shit in 11 and a half weeks. How are we supposed to believe you can do it in 10 days? So, yeah, Romano said earlier on that he expects Liverpool to be one of the busiest clubs in the world over the next few weeks. But look, all these things are just noise and talk. We need to see action. We need to see signings. We need to see fucking movement in the market. And we're not at the minute. So, me as a fan, I'm the same as all of you. I'm just at a loss to figure out why this has taken so long and what the game plan is. This one, Craig, who will replace Hughes and Edwards? I don't think anybody will replace Edwards, really, because he was brought in with a very particular remit that was a direction that FSG didn't go in. So it looks like now FSG are moving away from football as things stand, right? That's what I take from this anyway. If they're looking to exit out of Liverpool or they're slowly exiting out of Liverpool, I would imagine they're probably going to go back to American sports and maybe something over there that they understand or can control a bit more. I don't know. So I don't know is the honest answer. But then again, like I said, we should know a bit more. We should have been communicated with more as a fan base by the new investors in the club. But again, I keep telling you all, and I've been saying it for years, FSG don't give a shit what you think. They don't care. They just don't. They never have. They never will. They're money driven, and they've hoodwinked too many people for too long. So, yeah, it's not a surprise to me that they haven't been more forthcoming with the information. But it is what it is. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Buzzing to see Ramsey join my St Mirren team, Craig. Could he have a future at the Reds, joining a team looking to play fast attacking football? So, Robbie, I got to be honest, when I seen that earlier on, and just for people who maybe don't know what Robbie's discussing there's been reports today that Calvin Ramsey will be going on loan to St Mirren for the season. And I have to say, I find it a very underwhelming loan because that doesn't say to me we're sending a player out there that we think can come in and play for Liverpool. With all due respect, he's already been at Aberdeen, then he's come down, had some loans at Liverpool. This isn't a progression in his career. So I get a little bit frustrated as a fan when I see the likes of Kieran Morrison being linked with Sheffield Wednesday. And I'm just thinking, what he does at Sheffield Wednesday won't show us whether he'd be good enough at Liverpool or not. So it almost feels like these are the type of loan deals that are just done to get them more first-team experience before the club sell them on. Because I can't see a world where Ramsey goes up to St Mirren and then comes back to Liverpool and starts playing in the Champions League. I mean, it's just a whole different kettle of fish. So I think these are the type of things that are just being moved on, and we'll see Ramsey get sold then down the line, maybe with a bit more first-team experience. Steph said, can you say hi to my daughter? Absolutely. How are we, young lady? Hope you're well. And hello, Steph, as well. I'd say the club will bring in a homegrown player. That would be the common sense move, yes. And that's why, I don't sit here and confidently think we're going to get Adam Wharton because of the McAllister situation, like I've said. But, let's wait and see what happens. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd be more than happy with Stiller coming in. If Liverpool ended this window with, let's say, the Barcola situation done, as I said yesterday, I'm relaxed on the Gakpo stuff. If he stays, great. If he goes, great. No issues there. It'll be 1 in, 1 out. So it'll be straightforward. So if we ended the window then, and we got Angelo Stiller in as well, look, I think that's pretty decent. It hasn't sorted out the right back situation, but in some way it would have addressed concerns that we have and maybe buy us a bit more time to see how things progress, see how Leone gets on. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at with it. It's all hypotheticals at the minute, but if we ended this window and it looked something like this, that we had Araujo in on loan, maybe a plan to go back to get somebody else in the centre-back position next season or trigger that one permanently. We sort out the attack like we've done, get Barcola in, obviously get the situation sorted between Gakpo and Mbaye, then I think we're sorted up there. Numerically in midfield, it was never really an issue. It was always about the profile of player for the manager. So if that got sorted, we're probably a right back and maybe a little bit of squad depth away from being all right. So, if things go in that direction, it'd be a bit more of a calming influence on things, I would say, but it's all hypotheticals at the minute. So look, the Tyler Adams thing, I'm kind of stumped on that one because to me, there's far more upside in going and getting Angelo Stiller than there would be about getting Tyler Adams. Now, I know obviously Tyler Adams is a player who, one, knows the Premier League, and two, knows the manager and has worked with the manager, knows the way the manager wants to play, and he is the break up the play, give the ball type number 6. So I can understand the link, but I'd much prefer Stiller personally. I don't know about you guys, but I'd be all over Stiller compared to Adams.